Welcome everyone to our second episode of Hunting for Suspenders and Stilettos.
The podcast where we together explore the edges of leadership. Today we have Sorry, you go.
And where we break down for you what leadership is and how a great leader you are in your work, your life, your spirit.
I'm here in Cambridge. John.
I'm Sarah calling in from Toronto.
And I'm Anne. Today I'm calling from France.
And I'm Huda, calling you from Casablanca.
And today our topic is discovery. And what we learned from last time is to be aligned and to understand what we're actually talking about. So we'll start by defining what discovery means to us.
Do you want to start, Anne? What does it mean to you?
Right. So to me, thank you. To me, discovery is all about understanding what are the deepest dreams of the people and what are the values, and already starting to see, if there are any kind of patterns that are there or themes of things that people like or things that are limiting themselves. So that's all about like finding the base of the person.
Yeah, I can build on that. For me, it's, and we will talk about discovery from, if you've been a client of one of ours, you've probably heard this idea of a discovery session, but this is like the first session where we go in depth with a client. But we want to apply that. We want to see how that applies more broadly for you, so what you can take from it. But for me, building on what you're saying and building on foundations, it's foundations like helping this wonderful person in front of us understand themselves and help us understand like what they really want, who they really are, what they're about, what energizes them, and that sets the foundations for the rest of our work.
Yeah, and I want to build on what you're saying about foundations, because to me that's the key part. It's before we're like, if you're building any kind of structure or any kind of project, you want to start with a solid foundation, and that starts with, as John said, the discovery session or a discovery process where you're really starting to build some trust, and that comes from asking some powerful questions about the client, the coachee, or the other individual with whom you're starting this new project, this new relationship, about themselves and what they hope to get out of the relationship. So really, I love the idea. Discovery is foundations.
For me, so it's everything you said, and it is really, and Sarah, you captured it, is a building that putting the seeds of trust between the coachee and myself as a coach. And there is a metaphor I love to use, is really the metaphor of a floating bridge that I take away and I throw to my clients, and we walk together on that floating bridge, discovering each other. It's not only about me understanding the dreams, the strength, the limiting belief of my coachee, but it's also about this coachee finding, discovering a bit of me through this conversation and building that trust, starting to really make it. So foundation is foundation of who they are, who we are, and the foundation of trust as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting you're saying that, because to me there is a piece that I'm putting in the intake, that's sort of explaining who I am and all these kind of things. And there is this piece of that what you're referring to, which is what we call in coactive language designing our alliance, or like contracting, which is about like, hey, what do you need to make sure that this relationship can serve you best. So that's what I'm seeing there. And I wanted to add, for me, like the discovery session is like, so I was thinking of like an example of like when we are dating, like you're dating, you have a dating app, you swipe, this is like the intake. And then you meet the person and you sort of discover them, you understand to see, okay, what are they about, and okay, maybe you don't see yet their flows, but you're starting to see, if it could be a good thing. If we put it in the context of, for example, work, it could be the interview. So like the intake would be like, oh, the screening of CVs, and the discovery would be like the interview.
Yeah,
What
I'm
are
glad
your
you brought up dating. I was going to bring up dating. I think there's, hopefully viewers can take away something about dating, like how I don't know, enthralling or how good, let's just say, how good would it be to be on a date where the other person is actually really interested in you. They're interested in your hopes and dreams and who you are. And that's, and again, as whether in an interview or in maybe that like onboarding, coming onto a job, to have a boss or a potential boss who is just really interested in you, wants to know all about you and what drives you, what motivates you, what your strengths are. So, that's a lot what we're doing in a coaching discovery session, but you can see how it would apply in all walks of life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what you're saying about the workplace, another important part to remember is that it doesn't have to even be the very beginning of a relationship, because we're talking about laying the foundations of a relationship. Within an existing relationship, we can have a rediscovery. Or, for example, if you're for listeners or viewers who are starting a new project or a new part of a project with another individual or a team, that's a perfect opportunity to say, hey, let's sit down and spend half an hour, whatever it is, and talk about how we want to work together and how we can bring out the best in each other and what do you need from me, and really set a context, set a foundation. So there's always an opportunity to have this kind of discovery conversation to set intentions for a project or a relationship.
And there is a part of clarification also in this process. So clarification about who we are as two individuals meeting around coaching, the kind of what do we need from each other for this relation to land the best results for the coachee. And more than that, there is also a clarification about where do we want to, what is that final point, if there is a final point where we want to get, right? So for me, it's very much a process of clarification as well.
Yes, I like that you're adding that, because every time you're adding that layer. So I also see this as like setting up like the ground for the objectives. So like an understanding, and to me at this stage, even so being in the intake or in the discovery, like I really see that as like those are like potential objectives, because I always think that when we start the coaching program, and especially if we didn't do much of personal development, there is always a bit of like, we think we want something, but then later on we actually see that we want other things. So yeah, so sometimes it's important as well to sort of have a look at, to review those objectives to see if they are the real and truly underneath objectives.
Yeah, there's something about this being able to bring this into existing relationships, that somehow that's edge. Part of what we want to do here is talk about where the edges are, and that can be really edgy. Like if you've got an established relationship, and now you want to bring in a conversation that kind of questions the dynamic of that relationship, like that's challenging, but potentially hugely rewarding if you can, like, especially if maybe there's a little bit of a rift, or there's something amiss in that relationship. If you can have a conversation where you're like, hey, in our language, hey, can we redesign our alliance? That might sound a bit weird, if it's your husband or wife, or but
Yeah, or contracting.
Can we have a conversation? I mean, you can put it in layman's terms. Can we have a conversation about how we work together? There's some things I'd like to talk about. Really powerful.
Yeah, but do you have any experiences doing that in your own existing relationships?
So like now I'm not necessarily thinking, so probably with my partner, like sometimes, you have to reset a little bit. And in the context of work, I was thinking, like this designing alliance sort of contracting is already what's happening, at the very beginning when you're signing your contract with your offer. And at some point, like it happens as well when you have like your regular like quarterly or monthly or yearly conversations, sort of you also recontracting in that sense. And that's where it is important as well to be fully clear as a leader, and also actually as a manager and as an employee, and thinking that both are leading their own lives, to actually say what is important for this relationship to live and to evolve, and to get the best out of the relationship for the benefit of the company in that case.
And that brings me to something, and
I could see you were smiling.
Yeah, I'm smiling because there is this thing about, and it's a tough thing, is in a relation, for me, the richest relationships are the ones where we are equal, right? We are on an equal basis. That allows us to really speak our truth. And we all know that our truth is not the truth, right? But that truth that allows us to say what we need to function best, what we need to be valued as a human being, and what we need to value others and the work we do, right?
Yeah.
And bringing this to the coachee relation, it is a very particular relation where we are at par, although sometimes our coaches do not see that. And it's only that parity, that equality in the relation that allows us to really harness the wealth of information from our coaches with them to, to highlight some limiting beliefs or some fears or strengths as well that are hidden, that are sometimes a blind spot for them. So similarly, as an employee, when there is enough psychological safety, this is when you give your best, when you can raise your hand and say, oh, by the way, this thing doesn't work, or, I have this great idea, can I share it? And this is a little bit for me the thread that we need to weave a strong relationship. The foundation of a coachee-coach relation, the foundation of spouses, partnership in life, even our children, right? For me, that is my best lab, right? So when we get that parental attitude, I know it best because I have 120 years of experience. Well, you teenagers, they look at you and say, you're a dinosaur. What do you know, right? And this is metaphorically, this is exactly what's happening everywhere in our life, right? And the capacity that we have as a human being to bounce back and redefine all the time what that magic bond, that wonderful chemistry, that is for me where, like, I love it.
All right. Any more ideas about, like how you handling your discovery? I'm curious.
I think and I'm sure you too, have got very good at creating a lot of safety quickly. Like a lot of psychological safety and creating that trust really quickly, including just being direct, like sometimes asking the question, what do you need to feel safe?
Oh, I love that. I love that, because I was going to say, John, give us what are your best insights in how you create, because I've experienced that with you. What insights can you share? And I love the first one you just did about how you intentionally create that safety and quickly.
So
Question. I mean, I think it comes from just a way of it flows from a way of being, if that's not too airy fairy, but it flows from a belief that this person in front of me is a whole and worthy human being, just as they are, and lots of normalization of what they're experiencing. You know, it's a judgment-free zone, and they feel like very quickly that this is a place where they can open up, and that nothing is off the table, and nothing is, you know, all the dark corners of their life. You know, it's a place to shine a light, and that it's all fine, because we all have that.
Yeah. To me, it also relies on the being vulnerability part, or the being bold with things. So like I know, like for example, with my French clients, I you know, like in French we have we use the tu or the vous, and so like formal or informal, and I actually intentionally go and ask, hey, can we be informal from the start, to already, you know, like sort of remove some barriers. So that's one of the ways I do it. And also, like in the way I'm contracting, I, for example, give myself permission for things, so that they are, for example, I you know, I've been living abroad for a long time, so like sometimes like my French is not as good as it used to be, so I'm asking for permission to speak like Franglish, you know, and so that's already give them permission to not be perfect, you know. So that's like one of my tips, I suppose. You know?
I do something very similar. I say, like, this is not a place to look good. This is a place for mess.
Mm-hmm.
If either of us are trying to look good, we'll lose something.
One
really
thing.
important.
One thing I want to pull out that both Anne and John, you just shared in those examples, is that you are both, you know, asking, you're being direct with the coachee, with the client, and you're also helping establish that trust by being vulnerable yourself and asking, as you said, do I have, you know, do I have your permission to, for example, make mistakes? Do I have permission to, you know, not speak perfectly, or to do whatever it is? And so in that sense, you really are creating this, you know, creating a more trusting relationship and demonstrating your own humanness.
100%.
And to this, you know, to me, it's like we said a couple of times, this is not about this coach-coachee relationship. It's about just building relationships.
Yes.
And so like giving ourselves permission to being vulnerable and to open our hearts in having and trusting in these relationships. And because to me that's the key, really, you know, to success in leadership or any kind of things, is you know, to really make sure that those relationships are built equally.
Yeah, and that both parties, all parties, feel empowered to create the relationship. It's not one person just saying this is what it's going to be like. It's together in the moment, over and over again, figuring it out.
Yeah, this is for sure. And I see. Yes.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There is also something about bringing all along our vulnerability, but our power and our true way of being, right? So be it we have a smooth way of doing it, or we have a very direct way of doing it, and I think that allows also people to see who they are dealing with, and if they can take it, and at times yes, and times no. There is one last notion I would like to bring before maybe we bring our conversation to a close today, is the notion of being of support to our clients and to each other, to any type of relationship we get involved in, right? There is that part of we bring our vulnerability, our whole self, but there is that part also where we are supporting the other, and they can feel it, that unconditional love between bracket that we are bringing to the equation through listening, to being available, to be fully present and committed to get the best outcome out of it.
I love what you're saying here, Uda. And I don't know, something little thing said in my head is we are in service and in support, and we still keep our own boundaries. To me, that's super important to have that piece, because I'm thinking of work-life balance, and not giving. I see leaders that will give a lot, to their teams, and then they finish super late, and so that made me think of that.
And that's also a great thing to bring to the conversation, to bring to the discovery conversation and process, is what boundaries do you need to live and work at your best, and what boundaries do I need, and how will we know that we're respecting each other's boundaries, and how will we know when we're not, when we've messed up? What's the shorthand for that?
Yeah.
Bring that to your most romantic relationships, everybody.
Say that again, John.
I said, bring that to your romantic relationships, everybody.
Bring that.
We're checking out and going for a break. Love that.
So I'm thinking it's time to sort of wrap up, and I was thinking of, okay, what are your takeaways from this today? Anything new or reaffirming for you in this conversation?
It's a great reminder that it's, this stuff that we do in our discovery sessions just shows up everywhere. And for me, the willingness. So a question I'm taking away is, where might I need to redesign? Where might I need to have a conversation about a relationship, like an existing relationship, not a new one?
Today I was journaling, and I had this thought about redesigning with myself, about myself. So it's even that, right? And there is something about a recurring thing. It's not like you do it once and it's over. It's a continuous process that you maintain in any relationship. And giving ourselves permission to really going back there from time to time and checking if what used to work is still working, what used to serve us is still serving us or not.
Yeah.
Building on what you just said, Huda, around the continuity, the eternity, really, of that, I would say my big takeaway from today is that you have the power to improve every relationship in your life. And that requires inviting and empowering the other individual to go through that process with you.
Yes, that's so beautiful as an ending. I don't really want to add my piece, but I will. And to me, by talking here, I really realized about what you said, John, how you shows up everywhere. And I realized this, this thing of giving full permission is so important to me. And that was I don't know, a reaffirmation of, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. And this is my, and what I would like for everyone and for the leaders is also, give yourself full permission to build and rebuild the relationship that you want.
I would like to add this, maybe conclude on it. This designing a relationship, like really the word designing, what we put in that pot called relationship, is a choice that we have. And it is a very, very powerful tool that we forget about, unfortunately. But it's really just about naming our needs, encouraging the other person to name their needs, and then finding that point where we intersect and we start building that us, whatever that us is, right? At the service of the relationship itself or something else.
Yeah, right. Well, that will be the end of our episode 2, I suppose. And we'll meet again after the summer, September 18th. And we really want to thank you for joining. And we will see you then.
Yeah, big shout out to Andrew Moss. Thanks for your engagement. Andrew he's a wonderful man. He's about to head off on a round the world yacht race. Fascinating to follow him and hear what he says about that. And so yeah, go ahead and follow him and follow us. Just click on follow, or if you're brave enough, click connect. Send us a message. We'll respond. We'd love to hear from you.
Great.
Wishing you a great summer.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye bye.